Again to my channel. My name is Peter Sesele, and in this video we talk about everything that has to do with coming to school in Canada, settling in Canada, and then every other thing that you need in terms of studying and how to apply for visa, proof of funds. So this is on a Saturday morning, and I thought it wise to do a live stream um, to see who will be there to join the live stream, and then who have any questions for me. I know sometimes people try to reach me on email, but sometimes I might not be available the weekday to attend to your question. But this is your time, this is your moment, this is your moment, this is your time to basically ask any question that you want to ask in terms of studying in Canada. So whatever question that you have to ask, I'm right here with you. I'm just going to be, saying some few things, and then we'll pick up from there. Okay, studying in Canada can be a very, a journey to many. It might look as if it's a very, very, stressful process because of, the work that is involved and everything that you need to do in terms of putting your documents together, making all of the necessary plans and preparation. And sometimes when you don't have somebody to guide you, it might be difficult, right? Because you don't know exactly how to go about it. Okay, I'm a specialist, when it comes to studying in Canada. I'm currently doing my PhD at the University of Alberta in Edmonton, Canada, and I've been there trying to, find a way to come to Canada, and there were people that helped me along the way, and then at some point I didn't also have other people to help me, right? So I have to do some things myself, and then I got guide as well, from other people as well. Okay, so like I mentioned, it's freestyle session. If you have any specific question, you can ask me, and I'll try as much as possible to answer you. Okay, so studying in Canada, what exactly does it entail? you know like I mentioned, to some people it can be a lot of work, and especially when you don't have somebody to guide you. Like I mentioned, it can be very stressful. Okay, so you can either come to school in Canada either for BSc, either for masters, either for your postgraduate program or your diploma program, whatever you want to study, as it relates to you. It depends on your specific, background, your specific interest. Sometimes even just deciding on which course you are going to study can be very stressful because you don't know exactly, who to guide you, and you don't know exactly how to choose the best course for yourself. I also do run a mentorship program for those of you who are not aware of, and in that mentorship program, if there are any specific question that you want to ask me, we can always book a section, and then we get to talk over those specific questions that you have. Okay, in terms of studying, like I always say, you can always decide if you are on a postgraduate journey, let's say a master's or let's say a PhD. For a master's, you can decide if you want to do a course-based master's, or if you want to do either a course-based or a research-based master's. Okay, what's the difference? Basically, for a course-based master's, you really do very little research. Okay, so most of the programs, most of the courses that you are going to be doing are all, most of them are going to be, you're just going to go to classes and do a couple of exams, and at the end of the day you might be required to do either like a 3 year, sorry, not 3 years, like a 6 months project. And that 6 months project, might be up to maybe 4 months. It depends on your specific program, okay? It depends on your specific program. That will really determine, exactly what the courses that you need to take. For example, if you're doing like, let's say, environmental science as a master's program, maybe you might be required to take 6 courses, 7 courses, 8 courses, or depends on the total number of credit unit courses, right? But if you are doing like a research based program, then that is also a little bit different, right? Because then most of your courses are going to be research options, right? Research options. And then when you do research options, it's very easy to, you know, that process is a little bit easy, kind of, because you don't take a lot of courses, right? I think some people might not want to really go for classes, individual differences. So with research, you are really just mostly working in the lab and do one research or the other, okay? And before you can get there, I think the most question is really getting to that process and getting there, for a research-based program. For some of the programs, you might have to get a supervisor, and getting a supervisor can be a little bit challenging, especially when you don't have a lot of research experience or research background. It can take a while, but don't be scared about it. It's possible. It's possible. It's possible. It's possible. Okay, it's very, 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 very possible. But you just have to make sure that you understand the techniques, what is involved to send the professor, a message. Like I said, this is a live section. If you have any specific questions for me, now is the time to just leave a comment, and then you get your answer like right away. Whatever thing you're trying to find out regarding Canada, settling down, I'm just here for you. I'm here to guide you. I'm here to provide that assistance to you. So I'm just going to keep on, talking, and then if I see any question in the chat section, I will try to address that question. Okay, and then there are also two types of scholarship that you can find. Okay, there is the partial scholarship, and then there is the full scholarship. Scholarship and funding is almost the same word, so don't be so, don't be confused about that. If you say full scholarship or full funding, they virtually, mean, almost the same thing, right? So if you get a partial scholarship, it means that you are not going to get everything all covered, right? You're not going to get everything covered, okay? So that it depends on the specific department that you are applying to. The full scholarship can cover everything, ranging from your tuition. It can cover your feeding, your accommodation. That is what a full scholarship or a full funding is, right? Covers all of those things. And they are not going to give you the money at once. So don't be expecting, oh, they said my scholarship is $23,000 or $25,000, that when I get there, I'm going to get all the money at once. No, it doesn't work that way, okay? They are going to be paying you every 2 weeks. Yeah, that's how they make payment here. They pay bi-weekly. Okay, they pay bi-weekly. That's the most common form of payment here. So with that bi-weekly payment, it depends on how much your tuition is. If your tuition, your funding is, your funding is 23,000 Canadian dollars per year, they might divide that into, let's say, 12 months, and then divide that again into two. So if you divide 24 by 12, and then divide that by another two again, or just say divide by 24, that will tell you how much you're going to be making per 2 weeks. And then what a lot of programs do for scholarship is that they subtract whatever amount of money that you'll be paying for your school fees or your tuition. they separate that from the stipends, and then whatever is left, that's how much they're going to pay you. Okay, so which means that if your funding is like let's say 24,000 Canadian dollars, okay, if it's 24,000 Canadian dollars, um you are not going to get everything at once, like I said before. And even though you divide it by 24, you're still not going to be getting everything. So basically, what they're going to do is, depends on your scoring. So they will do calculations and deductions, and then they remove your tuition, and then whatever is left is your stipend for the 2 weeks. Okay, that is usually how most of the full tuition or full scholarship work. And then whatever is left, you can sort out the rent, you can sort out your accommodation, you can also sort out, let's say, insurance, as the case may be. But this is not usually a lot of money. Okay, so don't be expecting that you'll be getting so much money that you just be enough for you to go and buy a car in the first month that you arrive. Okay, so the first month is basically you trying to settle down, you try to you have your accommodation to do and your feeding, or so all of those little expenses are basically what you'll be spending a lot of money on. And then if you're fortunate and there is something left after paying all your school, your tuition and all your some other things, then if you have something good to save, that is fantastic. Okay, but I always tell people, grad school, either masters or PhD, it's a lot of sacrifice involved, right? It's a lot of sacrifice involved because you might not really get um, that luxury, okay? That luxury of life that you want, okay? You might not really get it. You might not get it at that particular point in time, okay? So just make that sacrifice, okay? Make that sacrifice within that first, let's say how many weeks, first year, just try to make that sacrifice. And then when you want to be enjoying, it's not going to be from the second year, right? That's really when, you can start having fun and everything. Okay. All right. And when it comes to the partial funding, basically it doesn't cover everything. It just only cover your it covers, maybe you can cover your tuition. And then in terms of let me say, um accommodation, well, maybe, and insurance and some other bills that you need to pay, maybe. Okay, but you can always just make sure you live below your means, right? So just spend your money based on what you have, right? Because if you spend so much money, or basically spending the money that you don't have, it can be a little bit stressful because you're going to run out of money. So spend little, and then based on what you earn, you can always spend like that, so that you don't run into that big trouble. Okay. All right, let's talk about visa application. I think this is a very so if you have any question, just leave the question in the comment section. Any question regarding studying in Canada, you can leave the question, and then I'll try to address your question as soon as possible. Okay. Now, when it comes to visa application, that might be a little bit, yeah, a lot of work, because there are different facets to visa application. There are lots of consideration, lots of things that you really, really need to put together. For example, you need to think about your proof of funds, which is really one of the most, crucial thing, right? You need to think about your letter of explanation. You need to think about all of your other documents that they're going to add to your letter of explanation. So you need to have all of those things ready, okay, before you can actually do the application. I've done a couple of videos in the past, talking about proof of funds and talking about visa application and some of all the other documents that you need. This is very important because with the documents, you know what is in the documents, what documents that you need, you know how to prepare yourself accordingly, right? Some of the documents are going to be, as you go, right? As you go, some of these documents will be, you can provide all this, some of these documents as you go, which means that you might not really have, all everything from the start, but as you progress in your application journey, you are going to see, different ways through which the particular application can be packaged, and then you just try to work accordingly such that your application will scale through. Okay, all right, let's talk about more into that. For the visa application, for the proof of funds, I'm going to do a separate video on that to talk about who actually can, who can sponsor you, right? Who can sponsor you? Not everybody that can sponsor you. Depends on the person that sponsor you. It will also determine what are the documents that you need to provide. So I'll try to do a separate video to talk about that, specifically, so that whenever, if there's any question, that I'll try to address that, specifically. Okay. Another thing you need to, for the client information, you need to be sure of the document that you are going to provide. Okay, so in terms of the document that you need to provide, you need to start thinking about first the letter of explanation. If there are other certificates that you had, of course, you have to include some of those certificates. Then that's also where you upload your police report, because there is no specific and separate place to upload your police report, right? So it's not like medicals, where with medicals, if you tell them that you've done upfront medicals, they can help you. They will provide the link for you to upload your medical report. Okay, so if you have any question, just do it to leave the question in the comments, leave the question in the comment section. I'll try to answer the question as soon as possible. Okay, all right. Other things that you need to put, if you have your resume, you want to put it, it's fine. It's not compulsory, but it might be another advantage. That's cool. And then for the proof of funds, the proof of funds is really going to be in the studies, in the there's a proof of means of financial support. It's kind of a unique part of the application. When you have that, when you have everything ready, you can always upload that, and that will contain everything from everybody that is sponsoring you, because some of these, their website is only a slot for one PDF, right? So you can always upload one PDF. So you have to try to merge everything together, so that everything can be loaded, together at once. Okay, from fund is done, and then who can sponsor you? Parents, brothers, sister, uncles, nephews, aunts. There are a couple of people that can sponsor you. That can sponsor you. But you have to be sure that those people that are sponsoring you, there is a relationship, between you and that person. If you say an uncle, for example, you have to show a little bit, about how both of you are related. If it's through your dad or through your mom, you'll be able to put all of their documents together, and based on the profile, that's what will determine the type of document that you are going to provide for your sponsor. Okay, and then after you submit an application, there are basically two things that happen. Okay, if you've already done your medicals, they are not going to request for medicals. They're just going to move into decision making phase, right? But if you don't do the upfront medicals, basically what that means is that they are going to ask, maybe in the process of them processing your visa application, they are going to ask you specifically, they're going to request that you submit your medical report. So that is when you have to go and book, a medical test, a medical report, a medical exam, and then do the medical exam. Once the medical exam is ready, you can then upload that to your document. But if you do, you know, if you do the upfront medicals, if it gets to that point when you are reviewing your application, then it's just going to be straightforward. It's going to be straightforward, decision making, which is really, 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 really quick as compared to when you don't have, you know, as compared to when you don't have the upfront medicals done. Yeah, it just speeds up things. Okay, I'm still taking questions. Anything you want to ask me, I'm here now. I can review things for you, and check your. I can even review. If you have an email composed or SOP or something, I can review that like right here and give you like good feedbacks, so that everybody will have that information and be able to move, you know, move things forward. Okay, let's talk about the passport requests. Okay, let's talk about passport requests. Passport request is basically passport request is after you've looked at your maybe you've submitted your application, and they are now asking you for they're asking you to do so after you submit your application, if you do passport request, basically what it means is that you're going to uh, they've already basically approved your application. Okay, when they approve your application, it means that your application is now ready to your visa is now ready. Okay, you can then go and submit your passport. And this I don't know if it has changed now, but because of COVID, at least when I submitted mine, it was in person, right? I have to go to the visa office to submit that application. Okay, the visa office in Lekki, Lagos, Nigeria. I have to go there, submit my passport, and then maybe I can't remember, probably made some payments for DHL or something, and then when the passport was ready, they sent me, an email, a message that my passport is ready, and then I went there for the passport pickup. So when you go for passport pickup, bravo, congratulations, you already now have your passport, and then you're ready to go to Canada. Isaac, I see you. If there are any questions you have for me, you can also ask. Any question that you have here, maybe that I haven't have had a chance to address specifically. Okay, now you've gotten your passport. What's the next thing, right? You have to start booking your flights. Thinking about when you want to arrive in Canada, and then you have to be thinking about your accommodation as well, because it's really good you think about your accommodation before you come to Canada, because if you don't think about your accommodation and you land there, people are not just that generous to just give you the house to stay, right? So you have to really plan that ahead of time, and one of the best way to do that is if you have if you're able to connect one or two students from the school that you are going to, you can send them a message and then arrange for a time, so that they can help you go check a particular room out. And then alternatively, which a lot of people also do, is to just book an accommodation in the university residence. That way, if you have everything approved. When you like, that was what I did, right? When I was coming, I actually signed up for to stay at the university residence. So when I came in, my room was already, my room was ready, right? So I just went there and then collected my keys, and then from there went to my room. So it was now a little bit easier, right? Compared to not booking accommodation, and then you're coming, and then inside the airport, by the time you get to your school, you're thinking of, by the time the taxi drops you, and then you're thinking, oh, where am I going to stay, right? So try to think about that ahead is really, really, really going to help you very much. And then you can also check, some places out on Facebook Market, and then if you see a place, and then it's easy to just tell somebody to help you to confirm the place, right? Because people here can be really very busy with work and with school, and might not have the time to help you to search, okay? But if you tell them you found something, they can help you to search, okay? They can help you to search. They can help you to search, okay? All right, let's move on. Let's talk about when you get to Canada, okay? When you get to Canada, now, what they give you is not study permit. Actually, they give you when you submit your passport, they give you the temporary resident visa, which is your TROV, okay, and they also give you a letter of introduction, right? That letter of introduction is what states that your application for temporary residence and study permit application, everything has been approved. So when you get that, you can actually now go, when you get to the airport, you show them that letter. Okay, when you show them that letter, they are going to say, okay, it means that you've been approved. And they might ask you one or two questions, right? So just don't worry yourself about everything, because they are super easy questions. I remember at my time, they were like, oh, how you paying for your tuition? And then I just let them know that I have a full scholarship, and that full scholarship is covering everything, okay? So it's best to prepare for any unexpected answer that they might ask, because these people are really, really, really super smart. They know what they are doing. So because they know what they are doing, you have to work with them intelligently, okay? And then whatever you land in Canada, whatever you land in Canada, if it is, let's say, Toronto or Montreal, as the case may be. Toronto, of course, is the most common one. By the time you give them that introduction letter, it means that your study permit application has been approved, okay? So basically, they are not going to issue you the study permit right there at the airport. Yes, right there at the airport, because you're going to pass through immigration. When you pass through immigration, they can ask you any question they want to ask you based on your profile and the things that you specify that that you want it shown, the things you should show on your project, and they can just pick, randomly ask, one or two questions, right? And then by the time they ask one or two questions, if you are good, then they will just allow you to pass. But if they are kind of suspecting something, maybe you don't even know the name of the school, that might be a little bit challenging and kind of a problem. So make sure you know your games and your school very, very well. Okay. And then when you arrive in Canada with your study permit, and then if you have your accommodation all settled out, then you go to your accommodation, and then that should be it. And then you begin to adjust, based on the environment, based on the circumstances, based on the scenario. Just adjusting to the new culture, new environment. That's basically going to be the first few months. Just settling down. Meeting with different people in different fields, and then that will really, 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 really help. Okay. So if you still have any question, I'm still taking questions, but if not, I'm just going to keep talking. And then the other last thing I want to talk about today is the express entry. So the express entry, uh, it's a system through which the Canadian government picks the best candidates. They pick the best candidate based on their comprehensive ranking score. So if you are not in Canada already, this is a fantastic opportunity for you to use. But first, I would suggest do your English test and try to score high as much as possible, because the higher your score, the better for you. If you score low, then you're really not going to, do a lot of things. Like you might not get, that you might not get that invitation, right? If your CRS score is low, you might not get that invitation. So it's important to, get that, make sure your CRS score is high, such that you can get an invitation. And then when you get an invitation to apply, it means that you have to go submit all your other necessary documents, just to be on the safe side. Make sure everything you submit is the same thing that they've indicated in your profile, because they find misrepresentation. They find information that is not consistent, and they call it misrepresentation. It can really damage that person's profile. So make sure you have everything all ready, as much as possible, okay? And then there's another one you can also apply for, another express entry you can also apply for, is the Canada Experience class. Basically, you work for 1 year, and then after working 1 year, if you work in a certain class of job, they can give you one or two things about, they can give you like whatever thing that you need. If you work for 1 year, there's a certain class of job, there's a certain class of job that involves, they call it skilled jobs, right? In NOC A or NOC B. Okay, when you have NOC A or NOC B, it's pretty easy, right? You just work for 1 year, then after working 1 year, you can get your, apply for the Canada Experience class, but you also have to write your English test, okay? So the good thing about this is it doesn't require, if you are working, of course, you must have worked for 1 year. If you're currently employed, at the time when you do your application, you don't need to show that big proof of funds that other people that apply for other programs, they do get, okay? All right, that is that for express entry. I don't see any other question online, and okay, I see a question from Priska. Please, how can I locate a supervisor that has funding for international students? I've sent many emails, and I appreciate. Okay, they appreciate my email, but say funding international student is expensive. Well, most of the time they don't. Well, some professors post on their website that they have funding available for, just funding. They don't specify this funding is for international students, okay? Actually, it is not more expensive to fund an international student. Let me explain. So when you come as a master student, what happens is that there is a minimum amount of funding. Whether you are Canadian or you're an international student, that is that. Well, if some might pay a little higher, yeah, some schools pay a little bit higher for international students compared to local students, okay? The reason is because the international students is going to be paying more tuition fees, okay, compared to like the local student. Most of the professors, they don't post on their website. So whatever you are doing to just be sending emails to them is basically that trial and error. And if you're fortunate, sometimes you can see a supervisor that say, hey, I have a funding available for a master's student, okay? They don't really say most of the time you have to be local or international student. But where the caveat comes in is that if, let's say this is July and they want somebody to they resume in September. Maybe they got funded and they want somebody to resume in September. As an international student, if you want to apply for admission, apply for visa, and every other thing like that in Canada, you can't do that between now and September. It's already just too close because before you want to do your application, it's already like 5 months. Like your admission maybe like 1 month, your visa application like 2 months. 3 months is already gone before you start taking on submitting your passport and everything. So, in that case, they will just want to take on a local student. Okay, so just keep sending those emails and just continue that inquiry. Okay, a lot of people that I've met here, I saw a lady that sent over 200 emails before she finally got a supervisor, right? So if you've sent a few emails, I would say just keep sending. If you watch one of my video, you discover that after sending some emails, I almost gave up, right? Because I was not getting that response that I desired, right? So I almost just, gave up. But I just have to keep, sending those emails because if you don't send the emails, you're not going to get response. And the more professors you try to contact, you might just bump into a professor that put on their website that they are accepting students. Okay, so that was really what was the best part for me. Okay, I was really searching a lot until one day I saw a professor that mentioned that they are currently looking for students. They're currently looking for students. And then I just contacted the professor, and then boom, that was how it worked. But before then, I've been sending a lot of emails, right? Like lots and lots of emails, before I finally get that response. I say, just continue it and then be aggressive about it, search every professor that you can find, and send them email. If one says, I don't have funding, you move ahead and send to the next person. That one say no funding, you move ahead and send to the next person. Okay, the professors are not the one that sponsor your visa application. Know that you have to do every of those things by yourself. Okay, I hope I answered your question, Priska. Okay, let's continue the gist. If you have any other question, you can also ask as well. you know how about settling in Canada? How easy it is to settle in Canada? I tell you, it can be a very, very stressful journey, especially when you're just starting up, And if you come in winter, that is even more challenging because now you are having everything that, you're having uh, to deal with the winter, you're having to deal with a new location. So it's just all a lot of work, a lot of work involved to get all of these things all, sorted out so that you can be able to do, settle well accordingly, right? So the first few months can be a little bit stressful because new environment, maybe you don't even know anybody in that particular city. That is even another bigger problem, right? But if you know somebody, perfect. If you don't know somebody, still don't give up. Just keep pursuing, just keep pursuing and then see how things will go. This live session is going to end in about 2 minutes. So that I can also go do some other things. So if you don't have any other question, if you have any other question, just drop the question in the comment section, and then I'll just keep the conversation, the groove going. Okay, and having to deal with winter, and then having to deal with some other things, can be a little bit stressful, right? And then having to get a job as well, that can be a little bit stressful because now you need to work on a different CV, right? You might probably were having a Canadian CV before. Okay, so now in a CV from your country. Now you need to get a CV that is Canadian standard. Of course, how it can be a little bit difficult and challenging at first, but once you know the pattern and how it works, you are just able to you can definitely get it done. You can, if in your school, most schools have career sections. So you can always relate to them in a career session, and then you can always have that conversation, with you and help you to build your resume, your resume so that you can start looking for work as the case may be. Okay, that will be all that I can take for today. If you have any more question, even though it's not going to be live, you can leave your question in the comment section, and then I'll try to respond to your question, as soon as possible. Once again, my name is Peter. Thank you for joining me in this live section. You are my community, right? And I love you so much for subscribing to my channel, supporting my channel. You've been amazing. You've been amazing. Thank you so much. I really appreciate from the depth of my heart. That's why I have to keep giving you information and contents day after day so that you continue to learn from it. If you haven't subscribed and if you find videos on my channel useful, do it to hit the subscribe button, and then so that whenever I release new videos, you'll be the first to get notified of my videos. Once again, thank you so much, and I will see you in my next video.